All right. So I want to welcome Dylan to Profitable Pursuits. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. So excited to be here.
Cool. For those who aren't familiar, can you just share like your 411? Tell us where you're from, what you do, who you help serve. Give us.
Absolutely. Definitely. So I am in my early 30s. I'm a military spouse, mom of two kids. But my career, I started in e-commerce back in about 2011, 2012, and worked in corporate e-com for a long time, married someone in the military, then started doing my own thing on Etsy. And that was over 7 years ago now, and made a lot of money, over $1.5 million in that time. Yeah.
Love
And
it.
yeah, and then actually I have fully outsourced that, and now I'm teaching Etsy sellers and people who want to be Etsy sellers how to do that for themselves, how to scale their businesses. And so I've helped about 1,500 people in the last 13 months with that. So
That's a lot of people in 13 months.
a lot of people. Yes. Yeah, we have about 20 people in the company now. So
I
it's
love it.
really scaled quickly, all organic too. There's just such a need, I think, for this right now.
Can we rewind? What was your initial like Etsy? Like, what did you do in Etsy, or what did you sell? Like, let's start there.
Yeah, so with Etsy, I basically just put up one thing that I made for our wedding. It was a letter J, it starts with my last name, and it was had flowers on it. And I just put it up. I thought, who's going to buy this, right? Maybe someone will. And I was newly married in between jobs, so doing all the side hustles. Someone bought it like 2 months later, and then I thought, oh my gosh, now we now we have to make this and ship it to someone. But then 2 months after that, we were doing over 10K per month, and great business. On Etsy, a lot of people do digital print on demand. There's so much you could do, but I was primarily in the handmade category. Nice high margin business, over 70%. So really nice business for the last 7 years. Yeah.
My favorite part is that we just jumped into this conversation and we are talking money and impact, and like by having this profitable business, not only have you been able to change your life and your family's life, which like that's why we do this, but
Yeah.
also all those you get to employ.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
so cool.
Yeah. So we have a military spouse who runs the Etsy shop now full time. And then we have about 20 people on the team who do on our coaching business who help teach other Etsy sellers. So yeah.
That is awesome. How did you go about, so only 13 months ago you pivoted into the coaching world. What was the like catalyst? Why were you like, hey, let's add this level, let's
Yes.
add this on?
So I'm a bit of a workaholic, maybe. And I basically was working so many hours on my feet making this product that I developed vascular disease in my legs. I'm not even kidding. So I had to have surgery on my legs because I was standing making this product. So I thought I can't keep going this way for my health. So I basically made the decision I'm going to outsource that part of it, production, and then get into something that's more scalable, I would say. Yeah.
Cool. And it's most of your traffic for your initial business directly through Etsy, or did you do like your own sales channel as well?
Yeah. So I'm really, really big on having nice high margin, and keeping what you make. And I focus on organic strategies. So Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook. Facebook was actually the biggest driver for us in terms of Facebook groups. That was just one component of it, but really built consistency into the business. So really not ad based at all. Yeah.
I love that. If you had to, starting with, I keep wanting to like say old business, but it's like still the business, like just run differently. But
Yeah.
focusing on that one, what would you say is like the one thing that made it leap off, right?
Yes. I would really say is not looking to Etsy when you decide what to sell on Etsy. I think that's a problem a lot of people do. They're like, okay, what's selling really well on this platform? I'm going to do that. And they're just chasing bestsellers. You're going to be chasing, you're always going to be chasing if you do that. So I really look outside of Etsy because Etsy is one of the last places to get trends. People don't realize that. They think, oh, like must be trending, trendy stuff on there. But it's not like usually a first place to get the trends. So look outside of Etsy, Pinterest, influencers, things like that, premium brands, and then bring that to Etsy. And that was a game changer. So that's what I teach people to do.
I think that point is so well taken, and not even just like the handmade or the Etsy world, but in any business. So often people get like shiny object syndrome, and they're like, well, they're making money doing it, so I'm going to do it. And then they're making money doing here, so I'm going to do this or try this now. Or this person says you can do a digital product and become rich tomorrow, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm like, stop, because you're watering down like what you're even good at.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not even, it might not even be a strength of yours. Like, oh, they're making, 30K a month doing print on demand t-shirts. Well, they've been a graphic designer for 12 years. Like you just opened a Canva account. So like, yeah, there is something to be said for, leaning into your strengths for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And also, are you a big component of this as well? I'm into the idea of like, stop switching 5,000 times, right? Like, do something, become the expert, and then keep doing it. Like, let's not turn off the moneymaker.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like people are so impatient now. They're like, I want to get rich quick. If I'm not making 5K per month, 2 months in, I'm quitting. I'm going to move on to the next thing. And they go from Shopify to Amazon to Etsy, and they're doing all these things. Well, they don't stick with something long enough to ever get good at it. Yeah, I see that all the time.
All the time. I could even relate that if you take that back into the W-2 world, when people leave college, you don't instantly get that executive high. Back in the day, it used to be like 6+ figure job was like the goal. That doesn't come year one outside of college. But you don't like quit your career, you don't quit working, or you don't quit your business because it's not instant.
Right.
Like, imagine what could happen if you were just persistent.
Right. I know. Yeah, my first job out of college, I was interviewing at all these different e-com places, and I ended up getting a job at Zappos. They're in Vegas, and I remember I'm like, I really want a job here. I would be willing to take out the trash. I'll be the janitor for free if you'll hire me. So it's like, but people, I feel like nowadays aren't as willing to do stuff like that.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. Not at all. In order to have a profitable business, it can't happen without top of the line sales. It cannot happen without like people coming into your world to learning about what you do. What is like your biggest tips to like bring in that top of the line traffic funnels, or how do you obtain your client base?
Yeah. So with like my current business, with my coaching business, we've grown so rapidly. I think faster than any Etsy coaching business that I've ever seen. And really it's organic, and we've really built that relationship with people, and it's through YouTube, excuse me, YouTube primarily, followed by the podcast. So podcast, YouTube, that's where 95% of people find us, and then Instagram as well. And it's all free. We're not paying for any ads, any boosts, or we're not even boosting posts. So that, I would say, if you really want to have a presence, I mean, Google, you're gonna show up in your YouTube videos will show up in Google search, which is great. And it's not for people who are, I would say, who give up easily, though. You have to be so consistent with that. Um, if you look at how many podcasts are out there with like 5 episodes, I mean, have you seen that? Where it's like they
It's because
start.
everyone starts and stops and starts and stops and is chasing the next thing.
Yeah,
So you can't hit your $1 million or whatever your goal is. Like, that's not everyone's goal, because
yeah,
you're stopping and starting, stopping and starting.
exactly. So when I started the YouTube channel, I was monetized within, let's see, about 30 days. And it was because I did a video a day. A video a day. I filmed it, edited it myself, uploaded it same day, every single day. I lasted about 3 weeks till I got sick.
Yeah, fair
Uh,
enough.
yeah. But yeah, you have to just go so hard to get something off the ground. Yeah.
That's
But it,
hard.
it really works. I mean, because then you're not relying on ads. If you do that, you get this built-in community, and you build that trust so fast with people. So I'm always a fan of organic first.
And
Yeah.
what type of content were you pumping out in those first 30 days when you're like, I'm here, I'm back again?
Yeah. So with Etsy, in the Etsy space on YouTube, most people who talk about Etsy, they had like a good year on Etsy, and then they're like, this is how to do it. And basically what I did, I applied everything from my corporate ecom experience to Etsy, and I speak about it differently. We talk about sell through, turn, planning and forecasting, and it's people aren't used to hearing that. So yeah. Yeah. So I just literally spoke what I knew, and I could speak to it like an authority because I didn't even have to think about what I was saying. So talk about what you know. Don't try to talk about things you don't know. Um, it's never going to end well. Um,
So
a-
true.
and and you'll run out of things to talk about. You will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
You can tell when people are just like faking it because they think it's the next thing to do versus people who are like, this is the way. It's just like a different energy.
Very different. Yeah, very different. And then, you know, the first way you'll last a lot longer. It's sustainable. The second way, if you don't know what you're talking about, like I give it like a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's pivot. When did you know it was time to like grow and scale your coaching business and like bring in team members and to help support this endeavor? Like, how did that go down? Can you share that story?
Yeah. That was actually that's one of the hardest things because with coaching, that wasn't my background. It's, selling like a digital product. So I didn't know how big it could go. I didn't know what the ceiling was. I thought, my goal was to match my Etsy income, let alone like, you know, 20x what that was. But I would say with coaching, I waited way too long to bring people in. So I didn't hire my first full-time employee, and she's on the sales side until March 30th. So I had done so much volume myself already, brought in, so many students up until that point. I think I was scared to hire because I was worried it wouldn't sustain itself. It's like I didn't believe it would keep growing. So I was like just waiting until I was absolutely spread too thin because I have two kids, it's like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I brought on her, and then we just, I actually hired, I'm hiring right now a chief operating officer. So bringing them in, a COO, like I feel a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Like I can't believe we're bringing in an executive level team, but that's just happening this week. So got
So
it.
exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Um, it's such an impact. So we've talked about how obviously when you're hiring, you're impacting not only your community and their families, and it's like just putting good out into the world when hiring. Can we talk a little bit about how this business has impacted your family?
Yes. Oh my goodness. I mean, I think everyone loves the idea of having a business and they see the glamorous side. They're like, I'm going to own my time. I can go out to lunch. I can like,
Yeah.
I can do whatever
Okay.
I want. It's like, okay, like if you do that, like, sure, you could have like maybe 5, 10K per month business doing that maybe. But if you want to go huge, like your family is going to be so involved. And whether it's the sacrifices they make, some of the time, like really prioritizing, kids and business, like you feel stretched, pulled, literally pulled in
Yeah.
two directions. Yeah. So the impact on them, I have a 2-year old and a 6-year old. And my husband and I have been married 7 years. So it's, he is fully involved, fully involved, fully supportive. Otherwise, this would never work. Like,
It doesn't.
no, like,
Not at the level you're at. It just
right.
can't.
Yeah. And tell me about your situation?
So I have a husband, 2 kids are a little bit older, and if he wasn't supportive, we wouldn't have the business we have. There's just no way.
Right. Yeah. So they have to be fully bought in. And then I do think it's great for kids to see though, because I don't think it's bad for kids to see mommy works hard. Like
I don't
that's
know.
then they're gonna find someone who is, I feel like that leads them to find someone who is also hardworking, as their partner. So I don't
It
think
also
that
shows an appreciation for like what we can give. Like you can have this because we sacrifice here. Or personally, like my big thing is I can take my son has like swim team at 3:30. Like, why do you have swim team at 3:30? Like the day's not done. But I can go with my laptop. I couldn't tell you what he's doing in the pool, right? But I like, all right, I'll just work from here for this hour, but I can take you because I have a business and I'm
yeah,
not someone else's clock.
Right. Yeah, it does allow them opportunities and activities where you don't have to think about affording something or giving them education or I mean that's like huge blessing. And I think especially later on, I feel like they'll appreciate that.
For sure. And I think, what power are you giving to your kids to be like, hey, if you work your butt off in something that you love and it can fulfill your family, like, isn't that the best?
Yeah.
Personally, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think like it's totally not as common anymore for people to see that. You know, kids are taught like, you know, I don't even know what's going on with social media. My kids aren't on social media,
No.
but I can only imagine the impression they have of what it means to be wealthy, you know, with and how to get from point A to point B. Like I think there's a lot of learning at home that needs to happen for that for kids now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you bring people into your coaching world, is it like, are they in once and then they're out of your sales cycle? Or are they in and does it recur? How does that look?
Yeah, so it's really totally up to them. We fully customize the program for the person because I have some people come in, you know, I have someone who she did $8 million last year on Etsy. Um so she has a different stage of her business. She has 50 employees. And then I have someone come in, they're like a stay-at-home mom, they're starting a new business, right? Never sold on Etsy, never sold anything. So different level, different needs, different duration of coaching, but we let them choose how long they want to have the coaching for. Then they can always extend. We find typically people do want to extend once, you know, they're seeing traction just because, you know, they see it accelerates their results when they have help. Um,
Yeah, for sure. When people find you, whether it's through YouTube or your Facebook, how long is it from they find you to they're like, this is what I want?
yes. You know, it blows my mind because we have some people like talked to someone this morning. She's been watching the channel for a year, a full year. And keep in mind, I didn't start this till 13 months ago.
Right.
And she signs up for the program today. After really, really thinking about it, she told me she's like a procrastinator. But then I'll also have someone who found me like an hour before. Like, I watched one video on YouTube. You sound like you know what you're talking about. I want to work with you. So they say, I think I heard somewhere it takes like 7 hours or 7 times before someone wants to work with you. Have you heard about that?
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
exposure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I find it's been very unpredictable lately. I don't know if you've seen the same thing.
Our business, I think it's because it's such a personal nature, right? Where we manage people's money and their financials.
Yeah.
We have a long social sales cycle
Mm,
where, like our Google, if someone finds us that way and just needs an accountant, CFO, that's a rather quick decision. But if they come through social, it's a long relationship.
yeah.
But in our case, the people who come through social, they're easier to work with. They're like, I don't want to say fans. I like to use the word friends.
Yeah.
Like it feels like we're friends and it's just a different relationship. And then people just don't leave. So
Yeah.
when we're doing our predicting and our financials, we can bank on that. I know whatever money we invest in social, whether that's team or hours or whatever,
Yeah.
it's a long turnaround, but
Mhm.
then it's years at their clients.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, that's great to have that business model where it's really recurring and you just grow with a compounding effect. We we are so young that we've, you know,
Right.
we're just hitting the year mark with some people, where their coaching is just ending, and they have the opportunity to like re-up with us. But one thing that we don't do, and I've heard a lot of people will get into a program and they'll get like the entry level option and then they keep getting sold like now
Yeah.
buy this, well buy this part of the program, buy this, and they feel like, oh wow, I didn't really know what I was getting. um or I didn't know that you're just going to keep selling me more and more add-ons. So we don't do anything like that. I don't like that experience personally.
It doesn't feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
How many members do you currently have in your program? Can I ask that?
Yeah, almost 1,500 in the last.
Dang. Do you know how much impact that is?
It's crazy. We hear, and the best part of the whole thing, I get Instagram messages pretty much every single day, or emails, or both, of people who are quitting their jobs from like and doing Etsy full time. Yeah. Um,
Love it.
quitting their jobs, or they're sending their kids to private school and that was their goal. Um, yeah,
What
that
a, like a good feeling. Like it's so I like to say, while I talk so much about money and how many dollars you can bring in, it's not so you're like just collecting and your bank account's growing. It's when you bring in dollars, it equals the impact you can have personally. And I don't think there's anything wrong with personal impact, but also through family and community. And that's how we change the world. So think about the impact that has been created because you decided to become a coach.
it's crazy. And it's way bigger than if I had just stuck with the Etsy shop. And to me, it's like at this point, like how much money does a person need? So it's not even like a financial thing for me, but it's like, wow, I have changed so many lives. And I'm not just selling like a floral decor. Like I don't, it's just the impact is so much bigger than I thought it could ever be. So it's a little intimidating when you have a platform that can do that. I don't know if you've ever felt like
A lot of
that.
responsibility.
Yeah, yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
responsibility. There's this quote, and I'm gonna completely butcher it, where like where much is given, much is expected. So we just bought like our lake house, like we live on the lake, we live our best life. Where much is given, much is expected. So I just try to remind myself of that as we, enjoy what we've been given, but also what we can give back in different ways.
Absolutely. Yes. And then I also heard bigger levels, bigger devils.
Yes. Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, I mean, you have different problems now, and it's not just, oh, someone's order is late from Etsy, like, and they're upset with you, but different levels of problems. And the decisions you make now, it's impacting all employees and things. So it's a lot of responsibility, but I don't know, I'm a person of faith, and I believe like God gave me something because he knew I could handle it, you know? So that's how I
Absolutely.
see this. Yeah.
I love that. How let's talk about so the top of the line we talked a lot about like how YouTube comes in and that's how we start the funnel through education. Is it safe to say because you've been the authority, like you're the authority figure, people are comfortable investing in this program because they see you as the authority?
Yeah, I hear like you to a couple things. You sound like you know what you're talking about, which I mean, I'm kind of like direct and to the point. So I think that comes across. And then you seem so genuine. And I'm like, well, that's great. Cause like I'm not trying to be genuine or I'm not trying to come
Right.
across some way. But I'm from the Midwest originally, and I feel like sometimes Midwesterners are just kind of more down to earth or something. I don't know. But I think that there's a trust factor there. They're like, okay, you know what you're talking about, and you seem trustworthy. So that helps a lot. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's the if you can just be yourself because you can only pretend for so long,
Yep.
right?
And pretending it would be exhausting. I'm actually like an introvert. So getting out there on YouTube is like, I'm shocked that I'm out there, but yeah, I'm kind of introverted, and pretending like I would never have the energy to keep that up.
Oh,
Never.
I can't even imagine. What do you teach your clients? A lot of people in the Etsy world, when they come in, we've had the opportunity to work with different Etsy coaches and sellers, and they're like, I'm just not making money. Like I make sales, but me personally, I'm not making money. Is that something that you hear as well?
So what I work with my students, because we have different stages of your business. So like in what I call the sprint, it's not about making money. It's about getting traction, becoming a bestseller, getting ranked on the first page. But in what I call the marathon phase, which is like the long game of your business, like this is where we start to pull levers and we look at, okay, where do you have the most leverage? You know, where do you have the most leverage in your business? Where, when you put 15 minutes out in, when you get the most out, like what are those products? What are those activities? Because you only have 24 hours in a day. Either we start outsourcing or we really focus in on your most profitable products. And we actually look at, we kind of reverse engineer their income goals. So, okay, what are you trying to make? Like profit, like take home. And then we reverse engineer that, look at what products they need, how many orders they need per day. And we back into that. So we start with the outcome and we reverse engineer. So that makes such a difference. Otherwise, you are just like flying blind. You end up selling the wrong things, and you're like, I'm so busy, but I'm not making any money. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that can happen.
Uh, what I gathered from what you just said is you have to pay attention to the data. Like it'll tell you what to do.
Yes. We're really big on planning and forecasting. So that's my background. You into it.
I'm here for it. I wish more people would do that.
Yes. But I mean, how else? Because a lot of people want to replace their income. How are you going to start a small business and feel comfortable quitting your job if you have no idea like what you're going to make? Um, yeah.
Yeah. People want to run from our experience blind to the numbers and hope it works out. And I'm like, you need to plan for profit, not hope for it. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Or yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then being willing to tweak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first iteration is rarely the perfect scenario. So tweaking and then because if you don't plan for profit, you'll end up back in that job like that you
Yeah,
left. Yeah.
absolutely, for sure. Um, my favorite part about the internet is that you have the opportunity to like meet people you wouldn't normally meet or get to know different people, the networking aspect, have these type of conversations, but you also get to like inspire people to dream more like, hey, if I did it, you can do it too. So if you're willing, I love to ask people like, what's like the next big like, oh my gosh, goal or like what's that dream for you?
Yeah. I mean, the next big goal, it's tricky. So we nearly went through an acquisition with someone this summer. Um, and that was for me, like that was what I was working for the full, previous year. And we didn't go through with it, which I think is probably a blessing in disguise here. But looking ahead, like my goal, one of my big goals is number one, to get my time back a little bit more because we've outgrown our infrastructure. So getting an operator in, getting, director level positions in, which are, it's all before the end of the year. That's going to really get me some of my time back so that I can be the visionary. So that's where I thrive. Like I have all these ideas and I just need people who will execute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So getting back to that point, that's like my short-term goal, but long-term, like there's like over 5 million Etsy sellers. We have 1,500 about in our program. How many more people could we impact? So whether that be something where we really scale our coaching business, probably to like 3, 4x the level we're at, and then maybe even do like a partnership with Etsy. Maybe we buy a software or we build a software. Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it.
So something along those lines to really, I think that type of thing would really get us to the next level. Yeah.
For sure. What I hope people take away from this conversation is we operate in two totally different worlds, but we are both using the data to move that business forward. And I just want to encourage people, whatever business model you have, whatever your operations is, whatever is the reason why people pay you, when you look at those numbers clearly, you can make actual decisions that'll move you forward.
Yes. Yes. And it's otherwise you're guessing. And if you haven't done something before, do you really want to just go with your gut feeling? I mean, it could have very, very different outcome. And I find it's like small tweaks based on the data. Like we've changed our offer for this program a couple of times. And, we see our like average like revenue per client go up like significantly, like over 20% just by making one change. Spread that out over how many people, per month, it's a big difference. So yeah, it's small changes, but having the data and being confident in it makes you confident in the decision. People trust you. And it's just, it's not a gamble.
Yeah. I love that. I love that we have that commonality. Coming into some of these, you're like, okay, what are we going to talk about? Like, but everything you said it, you brought it back to the data or the return or the projections. And I just hope people take that away.
Yeah.
Um, a fun question I enjoy asking people is, and while your coaching business is on the newer side, it's been here for a year, but you've been a business owner for a while now. If you had to make the same impact revenue that you've made in half the amount of time, how would you do it?
Oh man. Now with the coaching business, I don't know how much faster I could have gone.
Fair
Because I don't know how safely like that would have just been people like mentors and stuff, they say like, you're a rocket ship. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like the growth that you've seen in that coaching business. I do know things that would have really helped scale this faster are outsourcing things that I'm not good at. Editing my YouTube videos. I waited like 3 months to outsource that. I should have done it like month one, but I was scared to hire an editor because I thought, well, what if my channel doesn't take off fast enough? So I would have done that sooner. I would have outsourced, sales much sooner. Brought in a coaching team because now it's 9 people on my coaching team. It's not just me coaching. I would have done that probably 3 or 4 months sooner. Just hiring sooner. I think I hesitate. I still hesitate to hire because I'm worried that the business, I just wonder if the projections will actually happen. So hiring sooner, and then with the, oh my gosh, with the Etsy side, geez, I got us up to over like 360 K per year by myself, and it was like,
Wild.
I should have hired help way sooner with that. Yeah. So hiring, I think that's the common theme with me. I wait too long. Yeah.
It's scary because it's such a responsibility.
Yeah.
It's more than just, okay, here's some dollars for an activity. It's their livelihood, right? It's a responsibility.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then trusting, I think sometimes when you're good at something and efficient, trusting that someone else, they can do it like you did, or they can do it better than you did if they have all their focus on that. Um, we think like, oh, no one's going to do it as good as me. you know?
Remove the ego. It's okay. It's okay if someone can do it, and it's even better if they can do it better. Like, that's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure. Where can people follow along your journey? Can you share your handles? Where can people learn more from you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram and it's just at Dylan Jahraus, Jahraus and Dylan, that's the right way to spell Dylan, I would say. But that's my Instagram. And then on YouTube, Dylan Jahraus, you just type in Etsy and you probably see me on there. And then our website, dylanjahraus.com, we have a lot on there. Free value. We just, I really believe in giving away value. So ton of value on there. We have a blog on there. The podcast is linked on there. So yeah, we're all over the place, but wherever people like to connect, we like to meet them where they're at.
Awesome. And we will link it all down below. And if you could leave our viewers with one tip, like business tip, regardless of what industry you're in, if you do this one thing, it will help. What would be your one tip?
Hire an expert to teach you, because it could take you, 10 years to become an expert on one thing that someone's devoted their entire life to becoming an expert at. You will just accelerate your results in an insane way when you bring an expert in. You don't have to do it all yourself. Like, I took just for perspective, a $6,000 course to learn how to build my program, a 7-figure program, like multi 7 figures. Like, that investment saved me years of time. So hiring experts wherever you can, it's so worth it.
Amen. I love that. Well, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and we will be cheering you and all your students on. Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.